What is up, family? Thank you for listening. My name is Dr. Dale, and you're listening to Black Men in White Coats, the place where black male clinicians have the platform to share their story with listeners like you. I kind of stumbled there on the introduction because, I'm so used to saying the author of How to Raise a Doctor and the author of Pre-Med Mondays, but now I've got the Doctor Doc series, so that doesn't flow as well anymore, so I can't just be listening to my books out anymore, especially because, honestly, I've got a lineup of books that are about to start rolling out in 2020. Some of which are already done. I'm just haven't put them out yet because I'm getting these Dr. Doc series books out for you guys. But so I got to come up with a new intro. If you guys have any suggestions, go ahead and shoot them my way. Send me messages. But for right now, I'm just gonna say, "What's up, fam? I'm Dr. Dale. That's all I got for you." Super excited about today's episode, man. Before I get into introducing this young physician, just quick update. It's been a great week, man. A lot's been going on in my life. A lot of good stuff. And stuff that I'm blessed and grateful for. A lot of the hard work that my team puts in is really impacting people, impacting lives. Yesterday, we had a feature in Forbes. Forbes magazine actually put out an article on this, which was amazing. A very good article. And, they did a great job. And we've just been getting tons of people reaching out to us about that about that article, sending us messages. So I appreciate you guys giving your feedback. And I'm just grateful. Other cool thing is you guys, hopefully you've been hearing these podcasts I'm doing. I started the podcast with my buddy, Darius Phillips, and really cool podcast. Really we just get together and just sit down and chat, and we talk about a specific topic. This past week we talked about mental clarity, but really we just sit together and just start chatting. Nothing's really planned. It's just kind of a free flow chat. And I really like that format because, you guys are just seeing me in my elements, and we film it. It's just me sitting there in my house wearing whatever it is that I was wearing, and you guys get to see me in my elements. I'm not trying to speak proper. I'm just talking like I would in my house and just kind of relaxing, man. So I really like that idea. That podcast is something that I'm really happy about, and we're going to see where that goes. It's part of this whole podcast that I do. It's all on the same channel, so hopefully you guys are getting notifications about it. Hopefully you're all subscribed to the podcast. If you're not, make sure you go to iTunes or Google or Spotify, wherever you do your podcast from, and make sure you subscribe to the podcast so you can keep up with everything that we're doing. What else is going on? So Black Men in White Coats Youth Summits. We've got a few of those coming up. Right now, the Dallas one is scheduled tentatively for February 15th, and we got one coming up in Chicago, and that's tentatively scheduled for March 7th. So super excited about those. And then we've got a few other people, different states who've reached out to us who are, working on bringing Black Men in White Coats Summit to their cities. So, hopefully coming to a city near you, man. We're really doing our best to get out there and impact lives and to make a difference. That's why we're here, to make a difference. All right, now super excited about today's guest. His name is Dr. Uzondu Osuagwu, and really cool the way I got him on the show. So his mother reached out to me. She's a nurse practitioner, doctor actually. She's also Dr. Osuagwu, and she reached out to me and essentially brought me out to speak at her university, which was just a great event they had there. And I was really blessed and fortunate to have the opportunity to speak and to kind of see her. She's clearly very well respected on campus, so it's kind of cool to just see that. But I got to chat with her, and then I got to learn about these great children she had. Right, she's got two boys who are doctors, and of course, anytime you see two brothers who are doctors, that automatically just kind of perks your ear up, and you want to hear from people like that, right? You want to hear what their journey was like. Like, how did it happen to both of you? Not one, but both of you became medical doctors. So I reached out to them, and that's who's on this episode today. It's Dr. Uzondu Osuagwu. And great guy. Just from me listening to this podcast, I can just tell you he's a great guy. Even when he talks, you can almost hear the humility in his voice. He is a pain doctor. I want to say anesthesiologist, but he makes it clear that he doesn't really practice traditional anesthesiology anymore. He practices pain management, which is a really big deal nowadays because we all know about this pain opioid epidemic, the crisis that we're in right now. So kudos to him for taking that on. And he comments on that briefly in the podcast. Now, you're going to get a lot of tokens, a lot of jewels from this podcast, but one of my favorite things, and this comes up from time to time, but I really love it when people talk about their struggles, especially when they talk about struggles with testing. So he talks about the MCAT, how he took the MCAT and didn't do so great, but he didn't quit. He bounced back from it. And look at him now. He's a pain doctor, right? People die. People would love to be a pain doctor. That's a big deal to get to that position where you can be a pain doctor, right? It's great career. So many people are aiming for that particular thing, and it's not an easy thing to do. You got to be at the top of your game to get there. So kudos to him. Congratulations to him for making it and not quitting when he stumbled and struggled a little bit with the MCAT. So great episode. I want you guys to take out I'm going back to this whole thing of humility. You can hear it in his voice. You can hear it in his story. Suck that out from this episode. Let that get into you. Get that into your mindset, into your system. So when you're a clinician or whatever it is that you're dreaming to be one day, even if it's not in the field of medicine, whatever your service to society and to life is, do it with that level of humility. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Uzondu Osuagwu.
Hello to everybody tuning in to the Black Men in White Coats podcast. My name is Uzondu Osuagwu. I am an anesthesiologist and a chronic pain physician in Houston, Texas. I'm honored really to have the opportunity to take a few minutes and share my story and my journey. Shout out to Dr. Dale and everybody over at the Black Men in White Coats team and Diverse Medicine who've been really, making an effort to share stories of, everyone from medical students to residents to attending physicians, really just to spread the word about the need to recruit more minorities in medicine and just the amazing stories that are out there. I will sort of, take it back all the way to the beginning. So I was born and raised in a small town in East Texas called Tyler, Texas. I'm the youngest of three. I have an older brother and an older sister. My brother is also a physician as well, and my sister has a doctorate in educational leadership and is currently serving in a role at a junior college back home. In terms of my family and parents, my mother is a nurse practitioner. My dad is a college professor and has recently retired, but is still doing some teaching on the side. But so I grew up in a home where education was very, very strongly emphasized, and we did everything normal kids do in terms of athletics and music and things like that. But certainly our parents stressed the importance of, education as a means to open doors and provide us with opportunities as we, got older. And so from an early age, also from a personal standpoint, I grew up with asthma. So I was kind of, in and out of my doctor's office on a regular basis, getting checkups and allergy shots and allergy testing and things of that nature. So I think as a young boy, very early on, I was just familiar with the, clinical or hospital setting. And, in terms of talking about influences on me, I've had many influences throughout, my early career, but I think very early on, my pulmonologist was somebody who really, as a young kid who, sort of felt a little bit different with asthma, just made me feel normal, and helped talk me through, why I felt that way and what he could do to help me and the medications that I needed to be on. And he just had a really calming demeanor, and a kind demeanor that I think, as I look back on it now, was sort of the initial almost demonstration of what a caring physician should look like. So I credit him a lot. And then also just my general pediatrician who took care of myself and my brother and sister. My pulmonologist's name was Dr. Robert Klein. And then this other physician was Dr. Ellen Melton. Just two people who were just kind, caring physicians who really did a lot, I think, for me, even when I didn't realize it at that time, to show me what that looks like. So in terms of, growing up in academics, I was always pretty good at the sciences and was a pretty strong student and just enjoyed just doing well, whether it was in a science class or an English class or, what have you. And so just the challenge to, achieve and do well was something that I was always up for. And of course, with, Nigerian parents, at the first sight of, a strength in a math or science field, that was something that was very much strongly encouraged. So did well throughout, middle school and high school, and was involved in, athletics and other extracurricular activities that, I mentioned that because I think those were things that also helped me to develop interpersonal and leadership skills that are requisite traits, I think, of all physicians. And then went on to do my undergraduate studies at Texas A&M University in College Station. So I'm a very proud Aggie. I was there from 2004 to 2008, where I majored in biomedical sciences and minored in business administration. And I think much like any, kid making the transition from high school to college, those were some, challenging times, both academically and just growing as a young person, moving away from the home and having a relative degree of independence and having to, learn how to make some decisions and kind of grow up a little bit. So in terms of academics, I, again, was fortunate to, still have that drive and determination to try to achieve and do the best that I could, and did relatively well in my undergraduate coursework. Was able to graduate with honors. And then sort of the way the application process works for medical school is you sort of begin to, gather letters of recommendation and your resume and start taking the entrance exam, the MCAT, usually around the spring of your junior year in preparation to apply that fall of your senior year. So I was, doing all the same things that everybody else was doing and taking the prep courses and whatnot. And I took the MCAT and I did not do well. And I think it's important. I think this has, been a theme in some of these stories that have been shared, is that, all of these people who have now been able to achieve a relative degree of success, however you define success in terms of getting through medical school and training and beyond, more than likely a common theme in all of that is that at some point there was some sort of setback or challenge or failure. And I don't even really like to use the term failure as much as it is just sort of an opportunity to develop character traits and skills that you maybe would not have developed had that challenge not been placed before you. So that challenge for me was the MCAT. And so I had applied even with the score that I had attained, and unfortunately did not get any interviews that first time I applied. So there was, no shot at all of me getting in. And so for me at that time, that was really kind of a crossroads, if you will, of some sort, where I had to decide, like, okay, am I going to sort of double down and retake this exam and restudy for this exam and try to, continue to pursue my dream of getting into medical school and becoming a physician? Or am I going to say, you know what, like, maybe this just isn't meant to be and I should pursue some other field? Quite honestly, it was a no-brainer just to double down and sort of get back in the saddle because, from, again, all the way back to when I was, young boy going to see my pulmonologist and pediatrician and stuff, I really had never thought of or considered an alternate career besides becoming a physician. So, I, sort of went back to the drawing board and eliminated some distractions in terms of other extracurriculars and things that were maybe vying for my time and attention that just needed to, be put on the back burner while I, focused and restudied and gave my best effort to try to improve my score on this exam to hopefully improve my chances of getting interviews and getting in. And, I was fortunate that I was able to do just that and, retook the exam and improved and did much better and put myself in a position the following year to obtain, several interviews. And, I was fortunate to then get multiple admissions as well, which was just such a blessing to, the year prior have been in a position where I'm kind of scratching my head trying to figure out, like, is this going to be something that happens for me, or is this, maybe just not supposed to, be what I do, to now being in a position where I had options to choose where I wanted to go. And I think, while that was awesome and important, I think for me, I learned a lot from, again, that time of initial failure, or that time of initial questioning, or that time of initial wonder, where I think it made me even more resolved and more determined and more perseverant to achieve this goal, while at the same time also celebrate others who were winning. Man, like, I had some of my best friends from college who had obtained admission to medical school. And so, we graduate college and they're all, packing up and moving to the respective places where they're going to be going. And I'm sort of, packing up and moving back home, which is, every college graduate's worst nightmare, right? You finish college and you don't get that graduate admission or that job that you were thinking you were going to get. And so you have to sort of move back home while you put the pieces back together to some degree. And I share that because that sort of was a way that catapulted me to get me to Houston. So two of my, again, good friends from college had obtained admission at the University of Texas Medical School in Houston, which is now known as McGovern Medical School. And they had moved down there, and they had a 3-bedroom apartment, and they're like, look, man, like, we got an extra room. Like, you should just, come down here and, we'll take you around to some of our professors, or, find some other job in the medical center so that, you can sort of be here and hopefully, if it's the Lord's will, that you can, obtain admission here or anywhere else. And so I was down for anything that, didn't involve staying at home with mom and dad for an extended amount of time. And so sort of backtracking a little bit, that sort of fall and spring semester of my senior year, knowing that I wasn't going to be getting in anywhere, I had, spent a lot of time and effort applying to different types of research jobs and things throughout Texas at the different medical schools, and certainly in the Texas Medical Center, with the hope of, getting a little bit more research experience to sort of strengthen my application and my resume, and just to show that I was making an effort to be a better applicant than I was the initial time, while I also was working on improving my MCAT score. And, throughout that whole process of, filling out applications and cold calling and cold mailing, snail mailing emails and stuff, I think I got maybe one interview and ended up not getting a job. So that's sort of why at the time of graduation, I moved back home and I had found the job at a doctor's office. But so, fast forward to then, I'd say around September of 2008, and I come down to Houston and come to hang out with my friends, and we literally were going door to door, knocking on people's doors, and they were sort of introducing me as their friend from A&M who had, was looking to get into medical school, and for the time being for the year was looking for really any kind of research position. And it really honestly didn't matter what it was. I was going to, do, staining of tissues or cell cultures or whatever it was. I was willing and eager and hungry to learn and do that, and just to get some extra exposure and, again, hopefully strengthen my chances of obtaining admission for the following year. And, we knocked on one person's door who, fortunately was looking for somebody. And they had asked for my resume, and I had it all with me, and I gave them a copy of my resume, and and then, the day went on, and, I ended up going back home and not really thinking much was going to materialize from that. Only to find and get a phone call the following week that same person who had actually taken my resume actually wanted me to come back and interview for a position. So I found myself coming back down to Houston and interviewing with that person. And I was really surprised and excited to, at the conclusion of the interview, be offered the job. And it was a no-brainer for me. I took it. And the position was for a research technician who, essentially, as, the name implies, I was, doing, tissue sectioning and cell cultures and some fluorescent microscopy, and really whatever else that he needed me to do, I was going to do without hesitation. And here's what's, for me, I'm a believer in the Lord, and that's a big part of my life. And I know everybody has different views, and I certainly respect that. But for me, I look at that, and I look at so many other things that have happened, and I really see the Lord's hand in that, because I love telling this story because I still think back on it and it gives me chills. But so I interviewed with this person on a Wednesday. I got offered the job that same day. And, he emails me all the, HR stuff and online application and paperwork and all that stuff that I need to fill out. And I, of course, do that, very promptly and quickly. And, I'm real excited and kind of celebrate with my friends. And then I drive back home to Tyler. And that same week on Friday, Hurricane Ike hit Houston. And the significance of that was that the entire University of Texas system, because of that, went on a hiring freeze. So here I am thinking, man, that was like my last ditch effort. That was my only chance to, move and be at a medical school and hopefully make some relationships and meet some folks. And here it is, and it's crushed, right? And then I got an email from him basically saying, don't worry about everything. All your stuff went through before all the weather. And so just let things kind of calm down, and then, we'll bring you on and you'll start, at a later time. And that was amazing. And I don't think it was a coincidence that, I went at the times I did, and that there was an opportunity, and that it became something that materialized and happened for me. And so that year I was a research tech, and again, was a wonderful opportunity for me also to develop some, just basic research skills that, maybe I don't use every day in my day to day now, but, I think was important in just helping me to appreciate the basic science, side of things that can potentially impact the way myself and other clinicians in practice and offer things to the patients that we get the opportunity to take care of. So I ended up, again, getting admission the next year that I had applied, and ended up staying in Houston and going to the University of Texas for medical school. And I stayed on there for my anesthesiology residency, which was amazing. And then after my anesthesiology residency, I went on to complete a chronic pain fellowship in Houston at MD Anderson Cancer Center, and finished in 2018, and I'm now working in Houston. And so it's been a long, really 10, almost 11-year journey. And I'm so thankful for the good, the bad, the ups and downs, because I think it's all made me a better individual. And then certainly a better physician and clinician as well. Just a little bit about, what I do on a day-to-day basis. I don't practice anesthesiology anymore. I exclusively practice chronic and interventional pain management. And I think, we're at a really critical juncture in our society with the opioid crisis and opioid epidemic, where, lots of people are looking for options other than medications to alleviate their pain issues. And sometimes, medications are the option that we choose, whether they be narcotic or other types of medications. But I think the other thing that's really awesome, and part of why I chose this field, is the interventional component, whether it is, a peripheral joint injection or a spine injection or an epidural steroid injection, or some more advanced techniques that we're able to use, such as spinal cord stimulation for, chronic back pain or post-laminectomy pain, or chronic lower extremity pain, or vertebral augmentation for whether pathologic or osteoporotic vertebral compression fractures. Really, again, with the goal of whatever it is that we're doing, prescribing medications, doing procedures with the goal of decreasing pain and increasing people's functionality and quality of life. I think that's every pain physician's goal. And I'm really fortunate to have the opportunity to do that. So, man, I just, want to tell all those out there listening, whether you are a medical student or thinking about becoming a medical student, or you're in residency or fellowship, man, just persevere and stick it out. If it's really what you are convicted about and think that this is what you are supposed to do, just take the necessary steps to make it happen. I had the chance to sort of share my story on a different platform, and that was one of the things I said at that time was, when I knew that I wasn't getting in and I was seeing other people winning, I was excited for them. I was in expectant of when that time would be for me, and really just believe that time would come for me, and that that period of waiting was really a period to continue to develop my desire and passion to pursue medicine, and then just develop other skills and character qualities that I think continue to serve me well this day. So don't let, a minor setback or a failure or what have you keep you from continuing to pursue what it is you think you're built to do. Because there's not much better than sort of walking out every day doing what you think that you were designed and purposed to do. So with that, thanks again for listening. Thanks again for Dr. Dale and the whole team for the opportunity to share my story. And my name is, again, Uzondu Osuagwu, and I am a Black man in a white coat.
Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. So much to take out of Dr. Osuagwu's story. So much to take out. I'm just going to point out a couple things. First of all, and this is to parents who are listening. I want you guys to pay attention to this, because this was pointed out on our last episode too with Dr. Dotson, soon to be Dr. Dotson. Him and Dr. Osuagwu both talked about how important it was for them when they were young to see a physician, and how they paid attention to that physician and the impact that had on them. That's key, because, honestly, for me, that never happened. So I had a family doctor we would go to, and, I would see her, but seeing her, it never really clicked in my head like, hey, maybe I can be a doctor like her. Maybe I should be a doctor like her. That never clicked in my head. But, hearing these last 2 weeks episode and seeing how these now mature men in the field of medicine think back to when they were children and how it impacted them to see a doctor, that's big. That's really big. Even when I take my kids to the doctor, I'm very intentional about talking to them about the things of medicine. And I think that's a take-home message for parents. When your kids go to the doctor, when they go to the doctor with you or for their own appointments, take advantage of those opportunities. Take advantage of that opportunity to showcase the field of medicine to your child. So that's number one, which I picked up from this, and I think it's so important. And I'm so happy that he actually pointed that out, the importance of seeing a doctor when you're young and what that can actually do for you. In his case, the asthma and everything leading to the doctor's visits. Now, the second thing, I'm going back, I kind of alluded to this at the beginning, but he talks about persevere and resilience and don't quit. Students, parents, any and everybody listening, you have to get that. You absolutely have to get that. You got to understand this idea of perseverance and resilience, because the reason most people don't make it is because they quit before they get to that finish line. They quit before that finish line, and you just don't know. You just don't know that you might be one hit away from gold. You've been in that mine, you've been hitting, you've been axing away, chiseling away, and you're getting tired, and then you quit. But what you didn't know is you only needed one more hit, and you were going to make it. That's what he's telling you guys. Don't quit. Have that resilience, right? Don't give up on the fight. Whatever it is you want, that dream, go for it. Persevere. It's not going to be easy, but it's going to be worth it when you get there. It's going to be worth it when you get there. And the last thing, which I just love, of course, you guys know my religious background, my faith as well. And let me tell you guys, so if anybody is listening to this and you don't hold similar beliefs to me, but you would like to tell your story, please, contact us. We want to tell your story too, right? So it's not like, I don't know why this is the case, but a lot of people get on this podcast and they talk about your faith, the Christianity, which is the same faith I have. But any and everybody is welcome on this, right? So please come on. If you have stories, we want to hear stories from everybody, right? But I do appreciate the fact that he threw that in. And he talked about how he was able to appreciate the divine interventions and along his journey. And I think that's important. I'm a spiritual person, relational person with the Lord, and it means a lot to me. So I loved it that he recognized that in his life. Right, I definitely loved that he recognized that in his life. And just so glad that you took the time out to share your story on this podcast. Very grateful to have a physician like you again in the field of pain management. That's a big deal, and to have a Black male in that field, warms my heart, and I'm very grateful that you are in that position. Thank you so much, Dr. Osuagwu, for joining us on this episode. Any docs out there you want to share your stories, or PAs, or dentists, or any clinicians in general, Black men in white coats, go ahead and send us a message, podcast@blackmeninwhitecoats.org. We would love to feature you if you've got a good story, something worth sharing with the world. We want to share it for you, all right? That's why we're here. Make sure you guys go online and grab a copy of How to Raise a Doctor, Wisdom from Parents Who Did It. If you don't have it already, Pre-Med Mondays, and definitely get the Doc to Doc series. So book 1 has come out. Tony and Jace Learn About the Heart. Book 2 is going to be out very, very soon. We're wrapping that up, and that's one is about the lungs. Tony and Jace Learn About the Lungs, and I'm a lung doctor, so of course I'm partial to that book. So very grateful you guys listening to this. You could be listening to anything in the world right now, but you chose to listen to this. For that, I love you. Have a phenomenal week. Yeah.